Hey, what's up? Welcome everybody to another Story of the Shot. I'm excited to have Traci Sepkovic here with this beautiful photo of an Eastern Kingbird. What a scene. The
Thank you.
grasses, the fog, the composition, like, damn. Hell yeah.
Thank
Love this
you.
shot. Yeah.
Thank you.
So welcome. How have you been?
I've been well. How about you?
I'm good. I'm good. It's just getting
Yeah.
excited for spring, right?
Same, very much so. I'm really looking forward to getting back out with my camera again. So,
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
yeah.
All right. So Traci, let's hear the story of
Yes.
this shot. I'd love to hear how this one came about.
Okay. This was on Mother's Day last year.
Oh, nice.
Um, yes. So my family says, "What do you want to do for Mother's Day?"
And you're like, peace.
And yeah, yeah. Well, no, actually, I said, let's all set our alarms for 4 o'clock in the morning and head down to the lake on our kayaks.
Yeah.
And and everybody was so excited about that.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But
Uh-huh.
it was Mother's Day, so they really couldn't say no.
Yep.
My family likes to fish, so it was kind of
Okay.
it was like it's gonna kind of make everybody happy and me, and I'm spending
Choose
time
your
with
own
them.
adventure while you're out there.
Exactly. We can hit the water and go our separate directions and then meet up, at some point,
Yeah.
during the day. So, um, we pulled up to the lake and, I didn't have anything planned. I wasn't looking for anything specific. It was
Nice.
just one of those, this is just going to be a nice morning out on the water. My family's going to be there. It's just going to be low key casual. Let's see what happens. Maybe I'll get a
It's
shot. Maybe I
it,
won't.
it's fun to do that sometimes, isn't it?
It
Without
is.
like the
Yeah. Yeah.
goals and all the planning and all that. It's just like, let's see what
Yes.
happens. Yeah, it's like
It's a lot less stressful to me
for
whenever I'm
sure.
not in my head, like, what if I don't find it? I'm looking for this species,
Yeah.
things like that. So it was just a low key, let's go out on the kayak and let's see what happens.
And so it sounds
Um,
like, correct me if I'm wrong, Traci, this is a lake you've been to before, you and your family, you've
yes.
been before
Hmm.
and stuff like
Yep.
that. So you have
We've
some
been there
familiarity
before.
with it.
Exactly. I've been there. It's usually a great place early in the season, but then as the season progresses, season being, spring, summer,
Yeah.
the grasses and the algae levels kind of creep up on you and it becomes hard to navigate and not real fun. So we
Oh,
like to go early in the season,
okay.
usually end of April, May, maybe into the
Nice.
beginning of June. So
Yeah.
yeah, Mother's Day felt perfect for it.
Awesome. Excellent.
Yeah.
So you
So
get there and it
I
looks like this.
yeah, yeah. So we pull in and this is what I see and I'm
Yeah.
like, oh wow,
Yeah.
Then I started to get excited. It went from, oh, it's just going to be low key, whatever, see what happens, to, oh man, get me out of here, get my kayak in the water.
Right?
I'm out,
Is there a
Yeah.
little bit of
Love you
rush?
guys.
You're like, let's get in the
See you
water,
later.
right?
Yeah. I'm like, get me out of here. So, because, you see that fog, mist coming up off the water. You have like some clouds. So the sun's a little filtered. So I knew
Oh,
I'd have a
such a
little bit of
mood.
time. Once the sun came up, it wasn't going to be one of those bluebird days where the sun
Yeah.
comes up and it's game over. So,
Yep.
got my kayak and paddled off. And the first thing I saw, you can see here some fog on the water with the foliage. And then this was the
Yeah.
first thing that happened. I barely had I had my camera on my lap. I always keep it in my lap when I'm kayaking, usually have a towel over it.
Okay.
And a duck or two flew by. I was
Yeah.
like, oh man,
Yeah.
fumbled, get the camera, didn't got
Are
a
you
shot of
shooting
the
a
one.
big lens with this? Like, what lens do you
Yeah.
have? It's
Mm-mm.
a little bit more of a smaller one.
I always kayak with my 100 to 400.
Me too.
I've never taken my long lens in my
Yeah.
kayak. It's just too much to the balancing of it, the weight of the
Yeah.
camera in the boat, it can cause you to kind of
I've done
wobble
it.
a bit.
It's just
Yeah.
not worth it. It's really isn't. It's
No.
so
No.
cumbersome. You're trying to paddle and everything and you're dealing with
Yes.
that. It's like, just give me a small lens. It's so much easier.
Exactly. Yeah, I love the 100 to 400 for that. It's perfect
Yeah.
range, So
Yeah.
that's my go-to for
Awesome.
kayaking. Yeah. So, that's the first scene. Duck flies by. I'm like, okay, this is nice. So I just started paddling around.
Yeah.
And then I came across this little wood duck hen. Thought she was cute
Beautiful.
sitting there. It's a little busy,
Beautiful.
but I didn't.
I
I
know.
thought about
Right?
it, but then I didn't mind it.
Yeah.
I kind of liked the environment of it, the
Yep.
haze, the warm light coming through.
The
Um,
light's beautiful. I love the framing of the main like snag too, like coming all the way up there and then
yeah,
out in front of her. Like it serves its
it
purpose
kind of
there for sure.
cradled her.
Right?
It's kind of
Yeah.
cradling her in
Yep.
there. I thought so. I
And to get that
tried
close
for
to a
the
wood duck, that's an
yeah.
achievement.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Well, I tried getting close to the drakes, but that was not happening.
Yeah,
It was, it was game over with them. So,
sure.
I just moved along. It was just paddling around, and then I noticed there were a lot of kingbirds.
Nice.
Um, and I feel like last year was a kingbird year.
Oh yeah?
I've heard, yeah, I feel like there were a lot of them, or
Interesting.
I was just, a couple of people said that last year.
Yeah.
I think, wow, a lot of kingbirds around. So, I noticed a lot of them, and I thought, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. Cause once that fog and the mist burns off, there's really not much,
I
you
know.
can do after that.
Well,
So
and
I didn't
doesn't
want to
it
waste.
I feel like
Yeah.
on those mornings with the fog,
Hmm.
it can be decent conditions after the fog goes away, but
Hmm.
after the mood that you lose, it just feels so blah after that,
It's
right?
not the same. It's
It's
not the
just like,
same.
the fog's gone. Who cares? I'm
Yeah,
done, right?
I know.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. And fog is absolutely my favorite
Same here.
condition. I love fog. I always say
Yeah.
it's the filter that money can't buy.
Yeah.
You can't put a filter on your lens that is going to create that mood and that
The
effect.
depth. This,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And the way that, especially on a morning like this where the sun is coming up through and the fog just kind of holds that warm
Mm,
light. I
yeah.
just love that.
Yep.
So, I don't have a lot of time left. Kingbirds are what's in front of me. This is what I'm doing.
Is
So
that
I
normally a
just,
species you would spend some time with? Not giving
not
these conditions or anything?
necessarily.
It's not like a target species for you, is it?
No, no,
Me either.
I've never gotten up and said, today's the day I'm getting a
Yeah,
kingbird.
exactly.
I've
But
never,
they're
yeah, but I
charismatic
like
birds,
them. Yeah, they're really cool, to watch. And if you can get a shot with them with that little red crest,
right?
that they have on
Yeah.
top.
Yep.
Years ago I got one. There were some crows and they were going back and
Oh.
forth with the crows. So I kind of got one diving and you could see that red crest and I was
Oh,
like,
that's fun.
okay, they're little badasses.
Yeah, they
So
are. They are. All right, so you get this beautiful scenic shot. Already a great start, right? If this is the only thing you
yeah,
get, I'd already
I'm
be
good.
personally happy, right? Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you start getting like some really close ones. This is
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So they were just all around. I mean, there were probably four, I would say, four of
Nice.
them in the area, just kind of all going around. And occasionally they would get into like a little tussle or something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
So
you
noisy
know,
too.
they are. But it's so cool whenever you can just kind of get into a zone. When
Yeah,
you're shooting, when you finally decide, okay, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm focusing on. Your mind is no longer drifting to what's around the corner. I need to get to the next spot.
totally.
You just kind of you have a little piece that settles in and you're like, okay, this is it. This is what I'm focusing on. And I took a lot of shots
I'm sure. I'm
because,
sure.
and I would try getting closer, and I needed the space in the frame really,
Yeah.
to get them. So, and yeah, that's kind of the grasses that were around. That's just they would fly up into that darker background there. Um, Down low, they
Yeah.
were getting bugs off closer to the surface of the water. They would actually perch in those grasses right above the water and then fly
Nice.
off from there. Yeah. So,
So when you saw those grasses, Tracy, is that like, did
mhm.
you like zero in on them? Did you start kind of trying to work with that, or was it just like still just
I
working with
tried,
everything?
yeah, yeah, I tried getting them perched low above the water because
Okay.
the fog was still sitting
Mm,
low on the water. It was starting to lift to clear off higher, but there was still like this little band of fog closer
yeah.
down. So I was trying to get one when it was perched down there, and I got some shots. Unfortunately, it's back of the head, or the
Gotcha.
head
Yeah.
angles looking back towards a tree line,
Yeah.
or just the grass itself would intersect the body.
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
I
That's
just,
tough. Yep.
yeah, yeah. So I just kept shooting, and then this guy happened. There he
And
is.
then this perfect composition comes along, right?
I
Like,
was like, okay. And it was
yeah.
cool because it was just these simple blades of grass. It wasn't
Yeah.
like the bigger clumps that
Yep.
kind of gave it like a kind of a minimalist, I guess, look to it.
Totally. Yeah.
And so I kind of, when they were flying around there, I mean, really, I just hammered out shots
I was
because
just gonna say, is this a shot you knew you had when this moment happened, or is
no,
just like it's just nonstop action? You just keep going, you don't realize it until later, right?
exactly. No,
Yeah,
you're exactly right. It's
yeah,
just, it's happening so fast. These birds are just, they're in kind of a frenzy,
yep,
with the bugs along the surface of the water. And I'm just shooting and hoping,
yeah,
hoping that something is in the frame, in
yeah,
focus.
totally,
So
yep.
yeah.
So, and
Yeah. So I didn't know till later. Yeah.
it's not one of those things where you want to even take a second to look at the camera because that's missed
No,
opportunities, right?
no,
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
you can't. Yeah. Because, what they were doing is they would kind of flutter around one area, maybe perch low above the water, get up, move, one would chase the other one off. Next thing
yeah,
you know, they're up in the sky, they're tussling, and then they're gone. And then it would be quiet for a little bit. And then, they would kind of move on to another area. So I was just kind of, paddling my kayak around,
yeah.
just trying to see where they
That's
were,
so
basically.
great. And I
Yeah.
mean, the banking position, tail out, full wing spread, the spacing, right? I mean, it's almost just like
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. I mean,
Yeah.
just so wonderfully nice. It really is.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was really happy,
A
really
clear
happy
enough
with how
spot
that
for
turned out.
muted reflections of the
Yep.
grasses as well, which
Mhm.
is like a wonderful thing, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and I got to say, too, a shot that's just not quite going to be the same without the fog.
Nope.
Yeah.
No, absolutely not. No,
Yeah.
it would not be, the background would have been dark. The water would have been light.
Yeah.
It would have been
Yep.
a completely different, the bird would have gotten lost on that
For sure.
background.
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
against the fog, it popped a little bit.
Stands out. I mean, it's the main thing. You can't miss it. You really can't,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I think it's so neat that, like, I personally certainly appreciate when I put in a lot of time and effort and planning and work, and then it finally pays off. But
Mhm.
damn, there's something nice about the mornings where you just go out, no goal, and then you can walk away with something like this,
Yeah.
you know?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I wasn't, I went into that morning with no expectations.
So
It
you can't
wasn't
lose.
like, no, yeah, I was like, I wasn't on eBird. I wasn't looking to see,
Yeah.
what's there. What should I be looking for? I was just kind of like, it's a morning out on the water with my family. I'm
Yep.
just going to enjoy my time with my kayak. If I get some shots, great. If I don't, like, it was
Yeah.
whatever.
Yep.
There was no loss.
It was
So
a great morning either way. Yeah.
it was, and it was really cool whenever, um, that action started happening, and it
No
just,
doubt. Yeah.
yeah, came
And
together.
it still plays off of, obviously, all the skills, the ability to see compositions like this, make sure to track them. It's not easy. I mean,
No, it was not easy at all.
I know I've been in a kayak before, and
Yeah.
listen, I take people out for
Mhm.
workshops with loons, and I paddle for them, and it's still
Yeah,
kind of a challenge to get everything right. But when you're
it
trying to
really
paddle
is.
yourself and line up,
Yes.
even with no wind, it's like, how is this kayak spinning right now? You know, like
Right.
it's just,
Yeah,
I want to
yeah,
shoot
you
over
can
here, and
definitely, yeah, or if one stroke of the paddle that's just a little too much,
yeah,
and you're just drifting. You're
right,
going this way, and you're like,
yeah.
"I need to be over here." There's
Or
no
something
brakes in a
stationary. You
kayak.
finally got it lined up, and then
Yeah,
you're like, no, forward, backward, forward,
yeah.
backward. It's just,
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
Oh, I've ended up
it
in
can
the
test your
bushes.
patience.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I've ended up in bushes. I've been, whacked with stuff along the side. It's just, yeah,
Yeah,
it can be very frustrating at times.
no
So,
doubt.
yeah, it
But
was,
worth it for
yeah.
opportunities like this, because a photo like this, you just not
Mhm.
happening from land, right? You had to be out there in the
Nope.
water with them, and
Yeah, no,
exactly, you
these
know,
grasses were out too far for
yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Oh, well,
Yeah,
I love
and
the
and
shot,
they are those kingbirds. I mean, flycatchers, when they're chasing
right?
flies, bugs, insects, they're
Fast,
erratic in
yeah,
flight. So
yeah.
I was just, kind of just all
I
over the place with the camera, and I was like, "Damn it!" You
been
you
there,
kind of
done
have to,
that from a kayak with kingbirds myself. Yes.
yeah. And you just kind of have to, like, okay, I'm going to take a moment here, and
Yep.
I'm going to regain my composure because I'm getting sweaty and agitated.
Yeah,
But, you just take a moment, check your settings again, make sure you're not botching anything too bad on the
sure.
back of the camera, adjust, and then wait for them to come back by again and just start all over again. So,
Totally.
I like that though. I like that challenge. I like that,
No doubt.
you know, it's not, there's nothing easy about it,
Yeah.
but it's fun.
Yep.
It tests your tracking and shooting, and, maybe something happens and maybe it doesn't, but nothing wrong with giving it a shot.
That's what we keep going back out there and trying for, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So beautiful image. So here's the original
Thank
on
you.
the right hand, right out of camera here. So let's hear a
Yeah.
little bit about your decisions with the editing process here. What were your goals? What were your directions with this photo?
I wanted to straighten it.
As we all
First thing,
do.
first thing, first thing first is straightening it. And then, like you said, I liked the spacing between the two clumps of grass
Yeah.
and then the bird. So I just wanted to kind of have that all evenly spaced throughout the frame.
Yep.
And then brightened it a little bit, obviously. I did, on that right side, there was a blade of grass
Oh,
that
okay.
touched the top of the frame when I cropped it.
Oh, I see that guy right there. Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Oh, smart.
I don't like it when things touch the edge of the frame
I'm
like
with you.
that.
No, I'm with you.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so I took that off. And I think on the bottom right there are maybe a few little spots on the surface of the water
Yeah.
towards that. Yeah, I think maybe there's I think there were two dark spots that I took
Gotcha.
off. So
Yeah.
it was minimal as
I was
far
gonna
as,
say not much needed to be done, right?
no. So
Yeah.
straightening, brightening, cropping, and then those two items. So
I'd
it's,
love to hear your decision about. It looks like you went with like a little bit of a cooler tone, which I fully agree with on this one. Just compared, like white balance compared to the original here.
Yeah.
What was your reason or thinking with doing that?
I have two edits on this image, and
Oh
one
yeah.
is warm and one is cooler. And the cooler one just felt right.
Yeah.
I don't know how, it's just one of those things where you go back and forth on it.
Yeah.
And every time I like to, when I'm editing, if it's an image like this that I really like, I step away from it for a
Smart.
couple days because I feel like your eyes need to just kind of refresh.
Yeah.
And then what I'll do is I'll leave it up on my monitor. And then when I come back to my computer and I click it on, and that image is already pulled up.
Yeah.
I want to know what's the first thing I think when I pull it up? What is the very first thing when I think when I pull that image up on my computer? And a lot of times I'll be like, okay, this is way wrong,
Yeah.
or, oh, that comp sucks, or, or it's too bright or it's too dark,
Sure.
So I like to have that day or two in between my final edit and when I
Yeah.
actually finalize it and see what is the absolute first thing I think when I pull it up. So, every time I would pull these up, I just was more drawn to the cool tones.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
just a little bit cooler,
Not much.
but
It's subtle,
yeah, not much.
but
Yeah.
I don't know. For me, I got to say, with foggy images, when there's obvious direct sun glowing in the fog, I think that warm tone makes perfect sense, right? Because we can see the sun. But in this one, it's more of like a in between, and the coolness always just, I don't know. For me, I got to say, it feels foggier. I feel like when we're out in the fog in the early morning, and other than where the sun's shining out, there's that blue tint to it, right? And so it always kind of like, I usually veer in that direction myself unless there's obvious sun like glowing in it,
Right.
It just feels right. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the fog definitely, it just, to me, same thing. It has a cooler feeling to it. Even when you're in it, it feels cooler.
Yeah.
And I think it works well with the dark background that's coming through the fog
Agreed.
a little bit in areas.
Agreed.
Versus, because that would be like a shadow area. So I think that's another thing that didn't really set well with me on the one that was a little warmer.
Yep.
Yeah.
I could totally see that. Well, what a Mother's Day gift to you from nature on that day, huh?
It was great. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah.
Not
It
complaining.
really was. And thank you so much for joining us, and thanks for hearing or sharing the story of the
Thanks
shot.
for having me.
Yeah,
I really
enjoyed
appreciate it.
hearing
Thank
about
you.
it. All right.
Thank you.
Enjoy your spring.
You too. Take
I
care.
will. Perfect.
Did it go
great.
okay?